Come gather round this riverside campfire. There's stories to be told. I'm Nick Turner, and this is Jopre's Whitewater, a celebration of whitewater kayaking and the legends who've shaped the sport.
Jopre's Whitewater is brought to you by Kayak Session Magazine, the international whitewater magazine. This magazine is a true work of art. If you've never picked one up before, go to the local shop, find one, and look through, and you will be amazed at what the sport is doing right now. If you want to find out what the latest expeditions are going on all around the world, it's in Kayak Session Magazine in the news section. If you want to find out in-depth articles on the latest exploits of the very best paddlers in the world, it's in Kayak Session Magazine. The artwork, the photography is on another level from anything you've ever seen. The founder of Kayak Session Magazine, Toon, Philippe, anyone who's been in the industry very long knows him well and knows that nobody is more true to the sport. So if you want to support the sport, see what all the latest people are doing, and get the very best eye candy available on earth in the sport of whitewater kayaking, then do yourself a favor, go to kayaksession.com and pony up some of those dollars, drink a few less PBRs, and get yourself a subscription. Your buddies will bring beer over to come read the magazine at your house. Kayak Session Magazine, the international whitewater magazine.
All right. Super pleased to have with me today Mariann Saether, woman who's really blazed a trail in whitewater kayaking for other women in the sport. A woman who has a long list of first descents. Her list of first female descents is maybe a page long, including legendary drops like Fleming's drop on the Rama. It's also a two-time world extreme champion, winning the kayaking hat trick of both the Oetz Race in Austria and the North Fork Championship. The list of people who've won both of those is quite short, and they're all legendary people. And yeah, really happy to have you here, Mariann. Where'd you grow up, and how'd you get into kayaking?
Thanks for having me, first of all. Yeah, so I grew up in this small town called Otta in Norway. You've been there, Nick, back in the days. Yeah. It's quite sleepy, but it has a lot of rivers. It's really nice. So when I was 15, I started dating a kayaker, and the first date was in the pool training. And then I was hooked. So since I was 15, 16, that was my passion for all those years. Yeah. Up until now.
Even just going to a pool session hooked you before you even got on moving water.
Yes, that is true.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you're right there on the river. Your family kind of land there is right close to kind of probably the main kayaking or rafting sections in Norway there. And so did you start just kind of running those rivers around there?
Yeah. I mean, the famous one in my area is the Shoa, which is really famous for rafting, but also for kayaking, has multiple sections on it. But right outside my farm, we have the Otta River, which is more the beginner river. But the main rapid there is just downstream of my farm, and it's actually named after my farm, which is pretty cool. And I remember such days or actually my dad reminded me last summer that the first time I was alone on the river, he ran along the shore while I kayaked, and I do not remember this. And he said in that rapid, I flipped over and I rolled back up, and he was so scared. I have no recollection of that run at all. But yeah, so very often I would just put in at home and paddle to Otta, which is like 6 kilometers, and then run back. That was my classic stretch.
What an awesome dad moment, running along the bank
Yeah.
as your daughter's out there in the current. Yeah. And so did you kind of develop a crew there of kayakers to start going with beyond the boyfriend, or maybe still with him?
Yeah, so yeah, we were dating for some years, and I got to know some people that were my age, but they were actually in a different class at school, so I didn't know them until I started kayaking. But then we started to go out together and run rivers, like very easy rivers for the first few years, first 2 summers. And they were all better than me, of course. So it was great to learn. Like I had something to say Norwegian, you stretch for something. So yeah, they were very good. They were very good with me. They're very inclusive. They included me in all the trips, and they maybe sometimes encouraged me a little bit too much, but it all ended up well.
Yeah. And so did the river kind of scare you much then at first, or was it more just excitement?
Didn't really scare me. I mean, we were on more relaxing sections, and I don't know, like I right away from when I first took my paddle strokes in the river had this connection with the water that I it's not often I've been scared, not even as a beginner. I was very like I was determined, and I knew my weaknesses and I knew my strengths, and that helped me a lot. Um, yeah, of course there were some scary moments, like, but also not too bad.
Yeah,
All right, sorry, I got a little girl here.
no worries. Hey.
All right, I'm just gonna get this. Saga, gå sett det bortpå der. Gå dit, sett det der. Oi, 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 så sett det der bortpå. Ta med den now. Sorry, you just cut this away, right?
The screen babysitter used it plenty.
Yeah, yeah. I try to like not, or we don't really use screen a lot, but today it was just the easiest way.
Yeah. Well, now I find my kids are getting into the 10, 12 years old and they're just super social on their phone. So they get their whole friend group and they're on their phones all the time. But it's, I don't know, kind of like, well, that's being social instead of sitting home alone. But I'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. So I don't know, back to like I wasn't very much scared when I was first beginning to kayak, but I also had a lot of respect for the water, I feel like. And then sometimes I have to say, like, maybe one of the things that made me accelerate in kayaking is that I'm very stubborn, and I know that, and I was very stubborn. So, but I also learned quickly that if you make a mistake, you just need to look at your mistake and learn from it, rather than like it wasn't often I was like, oh, that was just so scary. I don't want to go back to the river. Actually, that's never happened. So yeah.
Yeah, that really explains a lot, right? That stubbornness and not having the fear or just seeing it as something to get around and keep moving.
Hmm.
So how'd you first make it out to the US? You came out California trip and that's sort of where you met a lot of people.
Yeah. So when I was 18, I decided to make a trip around the world, like buy a world around ticket. And this was back in the day, when the tickets were actually on paper. This is in 1999. And I bought a ticket to go to New Zealand because there was the World Championships in freestyle in New Zealand. So a few of my friends from home that I grew up with on the Shua, they were going. And then I heard that Chile was really good. It was really a great place to go. So I added 2 or 3 months in Chile to my ticket. And then finally, because I'd been talking to Fleming, I got to know Fleming that summer or the summer before. He said California was really good. So then I just also included California on my my trip around the world that first year. And I was lucky because when I was at the World Championships in New Zealand, I met a lot of really nice people from California that were over there to kayak. So when I went to California, I actually had some people I could call and go and see and hang out with, and they started showing me the rivers. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that trip, yeah, in California when you ran into Ben Selznick, Brad Ludden, kind of that whole crew that were sort of on the rodeo tour there. Ben tells the story of you wrecking really hard on a waterfall and then you're like, I'm gonna go back up and run it again. And he's like, no, don't go run it again. You almost died. And I'm like singing when he told that story, I was like, you'd never say that to a guy, right? Like so it kind of was this summary of like, wow, I bet you've faced a little bit of that current your entire life on rivers, right? Where I can't, even if a guy wrecked like that, I can't imagine another guy being like, no, don't go run it again. You just almost died, you know? So has that really kind of been present sort of in the background through your career?
Well, now that you say it, I kind of remember this waterfall. I think it was Brad that told me off actually. Um, gå, gå och sätt dig Saga, för mamma är ett möte. Eller så må jeg ta vekk. Ja, går du med et brødskive di? Gå og sett deg. All right, we start over again. You just have to edit out things. I'm sorry.
No worries. I can edit.
Yes, so that waterfall I do remember, and I think that was Brad that told me off, but it's just that I don't like to fail. And I really felt that I just made a mistake and I just wanted to do it again and prove that I could run it without making that mistake. And but what you're asking is like, yeah, maybe. I mean, I've always been like a bit of a lone woman in the sport, especially those early years, the first years, but it's not often I've been told off really. That's maybe one of the few times. But I have to say, like, there's maybe more than a little bit more the resistance, like if you as a guy decides to run a rapid versus a woman decides to run a rapid and the other ones don't want to run it. Like I definitely had a couple of moments where I would see a line and I would say that I want to run it, and then sometimes guys in my group would stand up and say, are you sure that's a good idea? And like kind of like doubting me, but maybe it's not doubting, maybe like doubting the line that I saw. And that's something I learned in kayaking. Often because I'm a female, I don't have the same strength always as the men, but I also knew like what I was good at and what I was not so good at. So I would sometimes choose different lines down the rapid that wasn't natural for all the men, because in their ability, they would go somewhere else. And so I think that's something I've learned from kayaking, is like to be able to just pick my own way. And I guess that's also true for real life, not just on the river.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then you kind of showed us around those two trips to Norway. We got to go to your farm and run a bunch of stuff out there. That 400-year-old farmhouse that's still there, and did a couple Iceland trips. How did that kind of change your trajectory at all, kind of in kayaking? Did that kind of open your eyes to, wait a
Yeah.
sec, this is something possible?
Yeah, right. I don't know if you remember, but the story why I ended up going on those film trips with TJR, it's a pretty funny one. Because I was down here in Chile on that first year in 2000. It was March 2000, and I was running the river on my own a lot because back then there were no people kayaking. But I had actually, I had met the owner of a company called Bio Bio down here, and they were just starting their operation. And the owner said, well, if you work for me, like help me with maintenance and, collect rocks for the hot tub, paint the sauna, whatever, then I'll feed you, you have a place to stay, and I drive your shuttle every day. So I paddled 3 weeks alone, pretty much on the river, bridge to bridge a lot. And then one day, as I came through Mondaka, there was just a whole crowd of people there, and there were video cameras on shore, and I couldn't believe it, and they couldn't believe it either. And that was, Trask and Arden, and they were filming for the first movie. So, and they thought it was pretty cool that I was there as a lone woman, just running the river. And they invited me, to, like, if they were, or they said they would come to Norway, and they invited me along. It's not really as a guide, but to come along and film. And then they asked me, do you have any people you would go with? I said, yes, there's this guy called Fleming, and then there's this guy called Morten. I'm sure they would love to come on a trip. But that's when we first went and filmed in Telemark. And for me, it was obviously like a great opportunity. Like it was amazing to be paddling with, with world-class paddlers. It was amazing to be able to show Norway. I won't say that I was guiding, because all those rivers were new to me as well. But and then that evolved into a trip to Iceland, couple trips to Iceland, and it was just like always a really, really good spirit in the team. And I really felt like included, respected, listened to. I remember there was some time we're in Telemark and we're running the Eidsoa, the pretty steep creek on the outskirts of Telemark, and there Scott find out, like he was there as well, and I wanted to run this double drop, and he wanted to, and then he looked at me and he's like, yeah, Mariann, you can go first, be my guest. And then I was allowed to go and get that first descent, and that was great. And that's Big Girl. Then I was allowed to name it Big Girl. Yeah, so.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't realize that you just came floating through the rapid like that in Chile, and that's how it happened. I thought it stemmed from that
Mm-hmm.
California trip.
Nope, it started in Chile,
Nice.
right here.
Nice. So then you, I don't know how much you filmed with LVM, but there was kind of that cover, that sort of kind of an infamous cover, because I'd say like all the rest of the LVMs have been whatever guys in the Southeast. And then it was really just this beautiful woman in kayaking gear on the front of their video. And I think that really, I don't know, it seemed like that was kind of an iconic moment there. And I don't want to use, I don't want to use the term sex symbol or anything, but I think it was probably like really, it was like, wow, look at this beautiful woman on cover of this now. I think that maybe like introduced you to a lot of maybe the roots around the US.
Yeah, I had a couple of great trips to the north, to especially Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina. We ran a lot of nice rivers there with John Grace and those guys. I just really like, I don't know, I did 3 months, 1 year there over the winter, and it just baffled me how good the Whitewater was. It was so nice, and the people were great. I got introduced to a lot of rednecks. After all, now I realize what a redneck is. Back then, had no idea. And yeah, I was just blown away with how good it was. And it was great. And that crew as well, John Grace and his friends, they took me in. John was just getting off the couch, I remember. He'd had a normal job, I believe, and then he was just getting back into kayaking. Um, and his friend there, Nathan Helms, was an amazing character. Actually, I have a funny story about him as well. I remember we were on a rapid, and or we were on a creek. Is it called maybe the Bear? Is that a creek in Alabama? Top
I
corner?
think so.
Anyways, it's one of the really steep ones. And at the put-in, this is before I really knew many of them well. I was there with John. At the put-in, Nathan Helms, he turned around and he asked John, so who's going to babysit this girl down the river? That was the first time I met him. And then he just peeled off and went. And further down the run, there was one place where it's a really steep slide, which we called Stairways to Heaven, maybe. And I was in the back of the group, and I thought I was alone. I thought I was a little bit late coming around the corner, so I thought no one had waited for me. So I assumed then it's just good to go. So I just ran it blind. And then Nathan was sitting in an eddy on top, and he just saw me blazing by and just running the biggest rapid blind. And afterwards, later that day, he's like, okay, you're cool. You can come on more trips. And then I was kind of like accepted into the group. So that was pretty funny. Yeah. I've had some, in relation to what we talked about earlier, definitely there's some strong characters out there in kayaking, but in the end, like we just all love to be on the river. It doesn't really matter whether we're female or males in the end. In the end, we're just kayakers.
Well, you earned the respect, right? You've had to just earn the respect the whole time.
Yeah.
So then you kind of got a good group of girls, sort of. I don't know if that stemmed from maybe the Pat's events up in the Canada, or where that really came about. You kind of seemed to get the group with Luis and all of those ladies. How did that sort of come about?
Well, first, so I just want to say that okay, just a second. Huh? Okay. So no, but first of all, when I started kayaking, there were two iconic female paddlers, Shannon Carroll and Nikki Kelly. And both those two impacted me so much. Nikki Kelly, she came to Norway once, and Shannon I got to know a little bit when I was over in California. and they had such different styles, but like they really inspired me. Nikki Kelly with her grace on the water, you know, her technique was flawless. She didn't run the big drops, but she was just so beautiful to watch. And then you had Shannon, which just had, she had like, it still has just balls of steel, you know, like, and just her determination, and like she would eat shit on something and then go back up and run it again. I think those two women, they inspired me a lot when I was first starting, and then I first started traveling the world. But yeah, as you say, Pat had these events up in Canada for sure. But I was also dating Tyler Curtis, a Canadian, for some years. So I got to know like a few of these women up there from that, from those years. And like, you know, Ruth Gordon, beautiful on the water as well as a freestyle paddler. Tanya Foe, really good like wave paddler, whole paddler, but also on the rivers, you know, and Katrina. Now Katrina's turned into like one of my really good friends, Katrina Van Wyk. And yeah, Nicole Mansfield, you know, that whole crew. And we had a really nice trip in northern Norway actually, like not so many years ago, I guess only a decade ago. Time flies. And we had Lulu with us, who unfortunately passed away on the river like a year or so after that trip. But yeah, for sure, I've been paddling a lot with like, or quite a bit with a good group of women. Noria, I knew Noria from she was very young. I remember I was trying to give her some tips on to how to do clean runs on the freestyle worlds in Thun, Switzerland, like 100 years ago. She came to Norway. We had our first multi-day adventure together in Norway, and she escaped the slalom scene for a week or 10 days to come up and paddle with me. And that's back when she was, how old could she be? Maybe she was 17, maybe 18, something like this, maybe even younger, 16. And yeah, so I feel like I've paddled, and I still paddle with like many amazing women on the water. And you know, these days there's so many out there. I go and do bridge to bridge here in the Fiddle, and I see amazing female paddlers, new ones that I've never heard of or seen before, and it is just great. I mean, it's a sport for all of us.
Well, yeah, that's really cool. Kind of three generate Nikki Kelly and Shannon Carroll, they were really on another level. Like you said, Nikki Kelly was just so on it. And Carroll with the balls of steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's three generations, right? You were kind of in the middle between those and the younger girls that really came up with the tits deep sort of crew. They started calling themselves
Mhm.
in mockery of the boys at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely there were some years definitely where I was kind of alone out there running class 5 with the boys, I felt like. But yeah, I mean, there's been women running hard stuff for a long, long time. I remember Buffy Bailey back in the days as well. She was also a really good paddler. And, a lot of women to be inspired by. And also now, as I said, now there's a lot of really good female paddlers out there. It's great.
So were you getting movies back in the day when you were really young that had, you know, Nikki and Buffy in them and Shannon and being able to kind of see those? What movies did you have back
Oh
then?
my, oh my God, I don't remember. It's so long ago. I mean, we watched all the normal stuff, but you know, I remember um, Liquid Lifestyle. Is that a movie? You know, like I
Yeah.
mean, it's so long ago, Nick. I don't even remember. But yeah, we were occasionally watching a movie, but it's not. I mean, with this, say for instance, you know, like this when we were filming in Norway, it took a year before the movie came out. So 1 year later, you got to see your lines on video. You're like, oh damn it, why did I paddle that way, or why did I do that? Um, but yeah, it was. Social media has changed also kayaking and the face of kayaking so much. It is pretty insane. You know, like back in the days we watched videos like Arndt Schäfflein was the hero, you know, like Arndt is a really good friend of mine. It was great to paddle with him. And it was cool to get to know him after I'd seen all the videos. Obviously Olaf Obsommer, you know, all these European filmmakers, they made amazing movies. So yeah. But it wasn't like we were out kayaking. We didn't really watch a lot of videos.
Yeah. Yeah, that Cavu Day, Olaf Fabsamer said
Hmm.
that was the one he had as well. And I think that had Bernd and Arndt and
Yeah,
Dangerveer and Corin. That was classic.
yeah. And these days, I mean, you ask some of the younger paddler, have you heard of Arndt Schefflin? And they say no. I just go, what? How is it possible? But yeah, I guess we're just growing up.
And we'll never realize, right, how big that one movie a year was, right? It was you just that came out and that was it. There was no other place to go get these clips or anything. So you just watch it 100
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
And so Luis or Lulu, yeah, she just kind of passed away there down in New Zealand. Seemed like that definitely hit you hard. Kind of came at the same time or real similar time as Benny as well. I know you did that trip up north, kind of, Lulu. What was that trip like?
So yeah, I mean, we in my circle of friends, there were like some hard years. We lost Juanito from Peru. He died here in Chile. Then Lulu passed away, and I still remember still where I got the news about Lulu. It was over in Esquel in Argentina, just across the border here. And it's just devastating because at least it was kind of it was the first deaths I've experienced within my circle of friends. And sadly, there's been more, over the years. But we had a trip up in the north with Lulu, that with Katrina and Lulu, with Nicole. Um, and it was a great trip. We did six weeks on the road with Ron, and we just called it the Chicken Express. It was Ron and one more boy, and then they were stuck with us, the girls. We were four girls and two boys. And we just had such an amazing time running just quality whitewater, beautiful summer, lots of sunshine, lots of water everywhere. Um, and it's this one river up there, which we second descended, the Glommoga. It flows through a glacier. So the glacier is on either side of the river. It's spectacular. It's like one of the most beautiful places in the world by far. And I remember that Lulu, she loved it. Like everyone was so amazed by of course, the river, but the scenery and where we were. So when Lulu passed away, her parents kindly trusted me with some of her ashes, and we repeated that trip, not with the same crew, but I took her in my kayak and I paddled her in, and I deposited her ashes in the most beautiful lake where we camped one night. And it was such an emotional journey. Even now, I feel like I want to cry. Like, yeah, that was a huge loss, and we miss her. But this is the nature of sport, we can't expect to not lose some of them. Like, we know it's dangerous. We know there are risks.
Yeah. Oh, and not just kayaking, right? Like Benjamin Hjort, who I know is kind of like one of your best friends, and he was backcountry skiing. But how did he kind of help you on your path?
Yeah, so Benjamin and me, we talked about it a couple of times. We don't really remember when we met, but we suspect it was somewhere on the Shoah around 2000, yeah, around 2001 maybe. And I don't know, like it's hard not to like Benjamin, like he was just such a positive spirit, positive person. And we piled a lot together. We did a few trips together, and just over the years, he turned into my best friend, my actual best friend. And the loss of him as well is just it's there every day. And I think maybe what he taught me a lot was to be happy in the moment, to be happy with what you have. And you could be, he would be the one that would be like storming outside, shitty weather, and he'd call you up and be like, "Hey, let's go for a hike." And I'll be like, "What do you mean go for a hike?" He's like, "We have to do something. It doesn't matter the weather. We'll just go and do something. Have a nice chat." Okay, so then we'll go hiking in the storm. Have a nice chat. So that was him, just utterly positive all the time. And he's a very, very loyal friend. The only thing I didn't do so much was like there were times he tried to say follow me on the river, and I learned quickly that I don't actually I didn't want to follow him that often on the river because he had this ability to, he would make these lines blind, but I wasn't that kind of a paddler. So he just, we always used to say he has at least 9 lives. But yeah, then they had that tragic accident in the mountains. And skiing, you're exposed when you go skiing. As you say, it's not just kayaking that's dangerous out there, and we all know it. You can also, car accidents. The way I look, the way I look at it is that risk is just something that exists in life. And on the river, I feel that I can minimize risk for myself because now I'm good enough. But there are certain elements like I'm terrified of traffic. I'm terrified of being hit by a drunk driver or walking down the street and someone just hits me in the car. But those are the things you can't control. I feel that on the river I can control my risk taking. And that's important. I can't control the river, but my risk taking I definitely can control. And that's a good feeling to have. It gives me a lot of confidence also in the rest of my life.
Yeah, he was such a positive, gentle guy for sure. Like I said, last saw him, I was in Nepal on the Bodhi Kosi, just running for fun, and this one of the Nepali buses comes up the river, and I'm standing on the shore, and this big, tall, white guy, shirt off, is on the top of it. He
Yeah.
comes by and realizes it's Benny. It's like, Benny! And he jumped down and gave him a big hug, and that was the last I saw him a couple years before he passed.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually out. I was also out in the backcountry. I was pregnant with my son, Benjamin. I named after Benjamin. And we had been texting the same morning, and we were staying in touch. I mean, we lived in the same town. So actually, when he died, I was on top of a much smaller mountain skiing for myself. But I don't know. I like that we always had that connection. And with Benjamin as well, it was like he was just so. If I didn't see him for 2 months or 3 months, we came back, we met again. It's like we just seen each other yesterday. So yeah, he was a special guy for sure.
Well, we thought we lost him on that cave falls. He went
Oh
off
my,
of that and then was just gone for
oh my
minutes.
God,
And we just
yes.
started blindly throwing the throw bag into the cave, and somehow he
That
came.
was Fleming's backyard run.
Yeah,
Yes,
that we put
yeah.
on like at
So,
6 p.m. He's like, oh, let's go do a casual run in my backyard run. And it was like, yeah, late at night, and it just turned into an epic.
and that was a pretty interesting trip. I remember my line was not great down that same drop, but I made it. But yeah, it's true. We thought maybe we lost Benjamin there. He was gone for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then went and stayed at his parents' place up there in Trondheim. Really
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a really fun trip. Yeah, so when did you get that place in Chile? You bought that land quite a while ago, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I first came here in 99 and I just instantly fell in love with the river, the people, the valley, actually all of Chile, but especially the food of the food. And I kept coming back year after year. Um, and eventually where I was camping, there's a friend of mine now, like Fico, he just asked me one day, why don't you just buy a piece of land here? I mean, you come every year. And I was like, yes, why don't I? And then I didn't speak much Spanish at the time. And this is, back when there were no electricity here. We had to go to Esquel to Argentina to use the one computer for internet. There was no gas station in town. Had to go to Argentina to fill up the gas. So it was like things were just different back then. So I started talking to a farmer, trying to talk since my Spanish was really poor. It was quite funny and a little bit frustrating. This process took years, actually. I got to know the farmer. Eventually, after some years, he decided that he would sell to me, and he sent me out onto his land and said, find your 1 hectare. I'll sell you 1 hectare. And my friend Fico that I was staying with, we were walking around here and we came upon exactly this place where my house is, where I'm sitting right now. And I told him, this is it. This is where I want to be. And yeah, so then I got to buy that hectare. And I think I had the papers in 2005. First, we had like you make a promise of sale. And to do that, we had to go to Chai-Ten, take the bus 4 hours with the old farmer, sign the promise, and then yeah, a year later, I got to come back with the money.
Wow, so 20 years ago.
That's true.
Nice. And so you've been splitting, you go there every winter now, or?
Just a second. Jag sögar grejt, men vara försiktig man. Okay? What's that for the mamma's not färdig? All right. Yes, I have been coming here since 99, almost every winter. I missed 2 or 3 years when I was in Bergen studying at the university and I couldn't leave. Or 2 years, and then I missed 1 year of the corona. But otherwise, I've been there every winter. Sometimes just for a month, sometimes for 6 months. It depends on the year and life, and yeah. But it's definitely, this is my second home, my other home. It's not even second. It's just my other home.
Nice. And so for those races, the Oetz and the North Fork, you got those kind of give you opportunity to do a lot of training. Did you kind of have to really, once you started deciding you were going to race those, like I need to really focus on this, or do you just kind of show up and do them?
So, because I worked for many years at the Oktoberfest in Germany, that was my yearly income really, serving beer for 16 days. And the Oktoberfest was always at the same time as Ötz, or at the same as Sickline. So I never got the opportunity to go until 2015, because that year I decided I was done with the Oktoberfest and I decided I wanted to try and do slalom for a season. So I lived in Spain, had Spain as my base, and I was very little on the river that season. And I got better at slalom, did some races there, had some good World Cups, and then failed miserably in London. It was a selection for the Olympics. I did really bad. And then straight from London, I could finally make it to Sickline. And I just remember, because I've been so little on the river, that I just remember the freedom of not having gates in front of me. And like all I had to do was try and go as fast as I could down this beautiful rapid. I was so excited. So, but of course I was the most fit I've ever been because of the slalom for a season. And yeah, I managed to pull off some good runs and in a way, but like I wasn't mentally trained for it because I was like used to trying to not hit gates that season. But it really stuck with me, this feeling of freedom. I just had to find the fastest water down this course. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed that competition. For going to the NFC, that was a little bit different because I had gotten my son, I gotten Benjamin. So in 2019, I decided that I wanted to go back and try and compete a little bit here and there, but I wasn't like, I went back to slalom and I did some races in slalom and some training camps. And I just, the NFC is so iconic already, like back in 2019, it was such an iconic event and it looked amazing. So I decided, I'm just going to do 10 days. I'm just going to go over. I'll try and do my best. And yeah, it was a lot of water that year. We had more than 3,000 CFS. And I remember showing up and people weren't really running Jakes, like Dane was and Michele Ramazza, who I paddle a lot with, was and Benny Marr was. But other than that, like there weren't many people training Jakes. But I realized that if I made it to the finals, I would have to race on this rapid, probably with this water level. So I just like put my head down. I just started training with the boys there in 2019. And I really I went every day to Jake's, got ate shit, got spanked, didn't swim, thank God, finally started to figure it out. And finally starting to get some of the gates. But yeah, I really I showed up to Jake's and just realizing that this was, if I wanted to race, I obviously had to train this. And then it was quite intimidating because there was no no safety set. The gates were there. They were hung, I think, on a Wednesday. I watched Benny Marr eat shit so many times. I watched Dane eat shit so many times because it was high water. The gates were hard. And I was right in there with them eating shit a lot as well. But I won every round on that race. I'm really stoked with that. And I feel like I put down the work that was needed to actually win. I didn't just show up to Jake's and like try to survive it. I'd actually trained, I put in the work, didn't have my greatest lines in the competition, but I felt very fulfilled winning also because I put a lot of effort in and a lot of dedication and a lot of work those days leading up to it. Yeah. So that was a
Wow.
great experience. Yeah. And then my son was 2 years old, 3 years old at that time. So I felt also like physically my body was a little bit like I was in better shape than the year before. So it kind of like it just, it was a good opportunity for me to go in 2019. And then I came back home and we were getting pregnant with my daughter. So yeah, it's, mm.
That's pretty incredible. After having kids. So yeah, then you were definitely the Nikki Kelly or Shannon Carroll to all those girls, Katrina and all of that crew, especially coming there. Like they were probably racing in that year.
Yeah, none of them were racing that year, but Katrina had raced before. And yeah, so that was, I don't know if I was a Nikki Kelly or Shannon Carroll to them, but it was definitely not like I was not pioneering anything there. The girls had been there on that course already and showed how it should be done. So I kind of felt like I just picked up the torch and kept going. Yeah.
Yeah. But you were like on the end of the once a year kayak movie era, right? So I'm sure they watched a lot of those films of you.
I I assume people that watch movies. I don't know. You have to ask them. But yeah.
And those girls still have a real active group going? Are they running a lot of stuff still?
Well, Katrina moved out to the West Coast. I got to pal with her surprisingly. Like it was a big surprise on the Zambezi a couple of years ago with her now husband as well. And that was great. We reconnected on the Zambezi and that was like super. And I realized Katrina is just the same, just as graceful, just as, like she's a really strong paddler, even when she hasn't paddled much, like up before our trip. Like I remember she came here as well. She came here and ran Terminator middle, like, yep, I'm just gonna follow down the middle. Great. And yeah, so I mean they're active, but I know she's passionate about skiing, and actually she's just passionate about life in general. So Noria, of course, is like, the hot shot. She's the legend now. Like it's been great to watch her from the very young teenager, a little shy French paddler to just becoming, the star of the kayaking world. It's been really neat to see. Yeah, yeah.
And the slaloms really helped her, right? It's interesting that both of your big races you won, you had been training slalom beforehand.
Yes, I mean, like, to me, slalom is so much fun because it's so challenging. It's the one discipline I'm the worst at, I can be pretty good on a big wave. If I have some training, I can get down big volume and creeks and waterfalls. I mean, I ran Aldea also a couple of years ago. But slalom is like, it's just so challenging. And I have so much respect for these athletes. And me, of course, I show up to these training camps or to these competitions and I try and I have my personal goals. It's not that I'm trying to make it to the Olympics or I'm going to win the worlds, but I really enjoy how I can set personal goals also in those competitions and then be happy with becoming 50th or 43 or whatever, like, um, yeah, I like that. And of course, it makes you a better paddler because first of all, you're training more. At least I am when I'm doing slalom. I become much stronger. My forward strokes get better. I notice a lot. Um, yeah, so in general, I tend to, after doing a bit of slalom, I place my boat better in the rapids. I get better lines. So it's all just I don't know. I always like this with the different disciplines in kayaking, you know. You can always gain something from the other disciplines in whatever you're doing. Same as with freestyle. Freestyle has helped me a lot over the years. I mean, I can look at a hole and I can be, yeah, I get out of that, no problem. Or like on the slalom, you know, some of the slalom courses, some of the paddlers think they're pretty big. Like London is a pretty big course for a slalom course, but I was never scared of any of the holes. I was maybe more worried about breaking my boat, but I wasn't actually physically scared of any holes. So freestyle has also helped me a lot. And also to know, you know, like I find a really interesting skill is to be able to run a line or say you have to use a wave to get somewhere. You know, like you have a wave and yeah, I'm gonna take that wave and I know I'm gonna surf that 2 meters to the right and that's gonna put me in the perfect spot. Like that specific skill set is very underestimated. And I mean, you need to be confident with surfing and being waves and using features in the river, you know, to utilize this skill set. I think that's freestyle's been great for me. But yeah, to go in between big volume, creaking, freestyle, and slalom has definitely like has made my river journey very interesting and fulfilling. I'm very happy I've done a lot of it.
Did you watch any of the kayak cross in the Olympics? Like I felt like the whitewater world sort of poo-pooed it before it came out, but then when it was on, it was really captivating. It was really cool to watch.
Mhm. Yes, I mean it's a discipline that's there to stay now, like, but I can see that the athletes are getting really good, and I can see that there's certain techniques, and you know it's fun to watch. But I believe that it doesn't have much to do in an Olympics. I'm not a big fan of this discipline. If I'm gonna go on the motocross, I go on the river, on the rapid. It's, you know, we know it's a fun event. But to put it in Olympics, I don't really like that. I think that's a bit of a stretch. But I mean, it looks like most people like it, and yeah, it's entertaining to watch. I've raced it once. I raced at the when was that 2017 in Pau, I think, in France at the World Championships, and I swore I'll never race it again. I hated it so much because I felt like I was a part of a show. Like I felt like, you know, they're here to watch me fail, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I didn't like it, but I respect the athletes 100%.
Yeah, no, I was wishing there was more whitewater folks. I was like, oh man, where's Dane? I'm sure just being as strong as he is, he'd be right up there, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe next time, next round,
Hmm.
people will accept it a little more. But it
Yeah.
is a spectacle, right? And it had nothing to do with anything that had even been happening before.
No. Yeah.
And so did on that Whitewater Grand Prix, did you like on the boys side, they said like that was really where that whole generation kind of came together and became best friends, right? It was really amazing on both sides, right? Like everyone of that next generation, there was no longer kind of these other crews. It was like every best kayaker in the world was best friends with each other just about.
Hmm. Yeah, the Whitewater Grand Prix was amazing. What a great event. I wish it was still going. And yeah, it collected people from all over the world, I should say, like good kayakers. And we were running like some pretty hard whitewater. There was nothing fake about that event, that's for sure. And you know, the stages when they got presented, you're like, oh God, you got nervous right away. Like in 2 days, I have to paddle down this flooded river in a boat across, try and win. But at the same time, you know, like people won, people lost, but there were no like huge rivalry. I don't feel like it was mainly usually pretty contained. Okay, there were maybe some moments. I know a couple of moments from myself, but uh, overall, as you say, yeah, it made this group of people from all over the world just get to know each other because you're on the road together for 2 weeks. So yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely, I think the peak of competition in kayaking was those right there of just the most hardcore things in every discipline you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, surfing gladiator. Oh my God, I remember it was terrifying to surf Gladiator, but then also trying to do tricks, you know? It's not like we weren't front surfing. I remember I threw a huge clean blunt and I was so happy I didn't land on my head and that the wave was like I landed it and I was like, okay, I'm still surfing. Oh my God, that was great. You know, like, it was terrifying some of those waves to surf. Like not just the rapids we had to run, like actually the waves are very big.
Yeah, it looked
Yeah.
terrifying. That's a good one. That would be a good video to rewatch. The summary of those. I don't know if it was Bomb Flow that had it, but yeah,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
that was amazing to see. And so you're still feel really good at your body. You said you ran Aldeirfoss 2 years ago.
Yes. Well, Aldeafoss is a bit of a special story for me. I mean, I went to Iceland with CGR, you know. I stood on the lip of Aldeafoss a few times and I never had the balls to run it. And also I didn't have the skills to run it really back then. And I was back to Iceland with Shannon Carroll and Katrina. And we were and Martina Wegman. We stood there as well and it wasn't the right time. So like, it's just been a waterfall that I want to run for a long time, but I just haven't had the opportunity hasn't been there. Like I wasn't ready. The level wasn't ready. You know, everything was kind of, yeah, it never really clicked for me. And then we've been filming this documentary for some years and the film crew asked me if there's one place in the world I would like to go and if there is like a waterfall or something that I would like to run and have this as a part of the documentary. And I right away like, yes, Aldeafoss. I'll give it one more try. So we went to Iceland and we were super lucky with the weather was beautiful. We had sunshine, amazing. We got to run all the bigger rapids leading up to it first, you know, like Yllarfoss and of course Godafoss. And I mean, I was just coming back from having my second child. At that point, Saga was just a year old or so. So physically was one thing, but mentally as well, like to tell myself to really feel that I wanted to run this waterfall. This was like something I had to really like ask myself, do I really want to run this 23-meter waterfall? I have a daughter and a son, and I'm not 20 years anymore. I haven't run big waterfalls for a long time. And again, like I took my time to work up to feeling okay running it. So I was practicing a lot on the smaller drops in Iceland. I got the free falling back, you know, the feeling, the control of the boat in the air. Because I really I didn't want to fuck up my line. I wanted to have a good line, the line I always dreamt of. I didn't just want to run Aldeafoss. I wanted to run it nicely and how I wanted to. And eventually, like, it wasn't so easy to find the right moment and the right level either, like during our trip. But eventually on the last time we were there, I was like, I'm always scouting this waterfall from the river left side, but I should really go to the right side. Maybe I see something different because from the left side, that's where you drive to, you know, it's obvious that it's where you scout from, but I didn't like how it looked. So I jumped in my boat and I paddled to the other side and I looked at it for literally 1 minute. I'm like, yeah, I'm running it. That's the line. Now I see it. And then I ran it. I had a like perfect line that I wanted to. We didn't really have much cameras ready or anything because I just went and like now I feel it. Now I'm running it. Screw the cameras. And had a beautiful line and went down, felt so smooth, and then my spray skirt popped at the bottom as I came up again. And I was a little bit bummed about that, but at the same time I was like, well, it's just a spray skirt. It's not because I did something wrong. Like it was just, yeah. And I had a beautiful experience finally with Aldeafoss. But yeah, I mean, as I get older, I don't run much class 5 anymore. It's not really there anymore. I feel like, yes, Aldeafoss was like I worked up to it and I wanted it, but I don't know. I'm very happy on class 4 these days. I'm very happy on class 4. It's less stressful. I'm enjoying the river, but I have to say, I'm very much aware that class 4 can be very dangerous too. I still respect the river a lot. So I don't just mindlessly put on like I paddle the rivers and I paddle the rapids consciously.
Oh, that's so awesome. You finally got Aldeirfoss. were there at least 4 times scouting it, and then
Yeah, yeah.
well, to put in the work and go to the right side and look at it, that's smart. Yeah, because you always just pull right up and you're right there on the road
Yeah.
looking at it.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to change the perspective a little bit, and I kind of forgot that about Aldeatos. I was always stuck on the same left side looking at the same problems. But then as soon as I was on the other side, I saw the line clearly. So it's just change your perspective.
Yeah, it's a serious fall still. Still every generation that goes there, a lot of respect for that falls, even though it's been ran for a long time.
It's powerful. I mean, when it's low, the entrance is very tricky. Um, and you still, I mean, you fall. For me, more than 20 meters that's a lot of meters to fall. And when it's high or medium to high, the water is so powerful. You're worried about impacts at the bottom. Yeah, so it always has a problem. It's not an easy waterfall to run. I mean, everyone can go down it, and there's been all sorts of lines down that rapid. There's been, backwards, sideways, upside down, and I mean, people live, but people have also been severely injured. So it's a waterfall to respect.
Well, there's also that blowhole on the left. I mean, that was one of the scariest things, that all that water is just going underground on the left and then sometimes shoots up as a geyser on the
Yeah,
left. It's like,
yeah,
you go in there, it's bad news.
yeah.
And yeah, all the big ones have problems, just like Fleming's job, right? Where you just on the lower
Mm.
Rama running it with the crew one day and you got to that last big, another 20-meter waterfall, right, of Fleming's, and just looked good that day to you.
I mean, Lower Rauma is one of the more beautiful rivers in the world, right? And it's not so far away from where I grew up, and it's very close to my grandparents' house as well. And I've been there a lot. We ran Lower Rauma a lot, like when we were, yeah, in the 2000s, because I remember I was working as a raft guide a few summers on the Shua, and then after work we'd just go and run the Lower Rauma, do a lap. But of course, Flemings, it's not one you just lap, like. But eventually there was one time I was there, I was with the right crew, Ian Garcia. He pretty much pushed me out of the eddy. Um, yeah, it was just, it was a perfect level. It was a good level. I remember I was very nervous, very nervous. And I ran the left side, left of center, and I took a huge hit at the landing there. So I haven't run it since. I ran it one time. I felt like that was enough because that hit was pretty brutal. Yeah, and I know other people have run it and they haven't felt anything. So it's just one of those drops. It's big.
Yeah, it seems like a big hit every time
Yeah.
on that one. Hey, so you getting your kids into kayaking? Are they getting out there and floating already?
Yeah, my son Benjamin, he's a good kayaker already. He paddles class 3. He's 8. He hasn't paddled with a spray skirt. He's been scared of putting on a spray skirt until this year. So this year we started a little bit. And then now we go back home to Norway in a month and we go to pool trainings and he wants to try to learn to roll. So we're getting there. But yeah, he's great. He's been on the water a lot with me and with his dad. Uh, my daughter Saga, she's only 3 years old, so there's no hurry. We float in the raft. We use the raft quite a bit and go floating, but I haven't really put her in any kayaks. I tried once and she got pretty scared, so I realized that was just too early. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, it's amazing to share the rivers with my children, but I don't want to push them. And if they, it's a baggage I'm happy to give them, like to go on the river, have river knowledge. But if in the end, if they don't turn into kayakers, that's all good. That's fine.
Less worry on your part.
Right? Depends what else they start. But yeah.
Yeah, depends. So, and you spent a lot of time in Voss after Shua, huh? What's kind of that Voss scene like? It seems really neat with the extreme games and everything.
Yeah, I moved to Voss because Benji was living there. He was a good friend of mine. And There's Andy from England was also living there, Mikey Abbott, Alan Allard, all these people that I really respected and had paddled with. And I went to the university in Bergen, so it made sense for me to move to Voss. So I lived there for about a decade. And it's just great. I mean, Voss has so many rivers. There's so much beautiful white water to choose from class 2 to 5. Waterfalls or rapids or slides or freestyle even. We established a bit of a slalom scene there as well. So Voss it had everything. And we bought a place on the river, on the Raundalselva, that we actually still own. We rent it out now and we try to keep it. It's kind of like the retirement plan. And but eventually, so Ron and myself, my partner, we started a rafting company in the north of Norway because we also always really liked it there. And eventually we realized we just have to move because it doesn't make sense to live 15 hours away from where your business is. So that's why we're still keeping the place in Boston. We're hoping we can make it back, but also we've established, and I mean, it's great. We've made a new company in the north. We've explored rivers. Yeah, so it's been good. But Voss has a special place in my heart and always will have.
Nice. Where's your guys' raft company up there?
Yeah, so because we've always liked to go to the north kayaking in the summers. It's been like a little, before it was more of a secret. I remember when I was in my 20s, it was like there was one guy with one map with rivers and the rest of us kind of had to just figure it out. But over the years, now it's turned more into a destination. But we started our company in 2017 in a river called Austervesna, which is on it's the biggest, largest watershed in the north, in that part of northern Norway. So it's beautiful, big volume rapids. Also has a lot of other creeks running into the watershed. It's where I think most people have seen photos from the Susna, this beautiful drop that everyone posts when they're in Norway. It's in the same river. And actually this river has like 40 kilometers of white water. We tried to count all the sections on there. I think we ended up with 11 sections, depending how you count the sections. And it's great for rafting. It's safe. We have different sections we go on, and obviously it's really good for kayaking. So there's a lot of good kayaking up there. Anything from class 2 to 5.
And that's north of Trondheim?
Yep, that's 5 hours north in a little place called Trofors. It's you can get direct international flights into Trondheim, rent a car and drive north 5 hours, or jump on the train. That works as well. So yeah, we're seeing more and more international groups coming up there, and we have a river festival every summer in July, the Vesna River Festival. So then people come from all over Europe. So it's definitely turning into another little hub in Norway. So for whitewater.
That's awesome. So the rest of your winter, you're just guiding there in Chile, taking care of the kids?
Yeah, so I like to help out the local companies here and there. Like I do some safety kayaking when they ask. And I have guiding services. So companies or outfitters will hire me to guide their clients kayaking on the river, various sections. But I also have a normal job. Like I also work for the municipality in Norway. I develop projects, all sorts of different projects in the township. And I'm also a teacher. So I'm an online teacher at the technical university outside of Bergen. So all combined, I'm still trying to I should be working 100%, but I'm trying to have some time off as well. So a lot of little adventures here. We go to the beaches, we go and hang out with the neighbors. I have amazing neighbors that watch my kids if needed. We go on hikes, we do paragliding here as well. So yeah, it's when I signed my work contract with the municipality in Trofors at home, I made sure it says in my contract that I can have home office in Chile when needed. So it works fine.
Awesome. Well, I don't think you should be working 100%. You should be living life 100%, and you're doing that. You've always done that, made your own path.
Yeah.
Well, great to talk to you, Mariann. Really appreciate the time, and hope you have a great winter there.
Yeah, thank you. It was really nice to talk to you again, Nick. We should talk more later. And
Definitely.
we definitely have a lot of good old stories to share. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should come down to the Futa anytime. The world is coming to the Futa. There's so many kayakers here. It's amazing to see the community grow. Like kids are kayaking, women are kayaking, like locals. So yeah, this is a good place to come and spend the winter.
Yeah, I definitely need to get down there. So gorgeous. You're on such gorgeous water in both northern Norway and Chile, huh? Like the most crystal clear green
The river is
water.
just down here. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's Patagonia and Norway. They're quite similar in many ways, I have to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but great talking to you.
You
Thank
too,
you.
man. You take care.